Mm-hmm.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, if anyone can hear us, give us a sign. Jama, you can say something as well.
Oh yeah, I can say something. Yeah, let's do it. It's awesome. Let me. I think I can see. Sometimes people ask questions on chat, right? So maybe I could pull
Yeah,
over.
there'll be tons of questions, I think.
Ooh, look at this. Oh, there's a delay. Okay, I see
Yeah,
that.
that definitely. It will be like at least 5 seconds.
Okay, perfect.
So, but you don't have to worry about it. I got all the sounds from the streaming and everything. I just like lower it down so I can only hear you.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Uh, okay, so Juan says everything is all right with the sound. Hi, Jama. Hi. Okay, looking good. That's what we like. Let's just check some of the things here. Okay. Okay, so before we start talking to the guy that you guys all been waiting for, let's do some promo messages for the IFCC, of course. So Jama is one of the instructors who will join us at the IFCC starting 24th of June until the 29th of June. So he'll join 23 other instructors, and yeah, join us there. Come and learn. It will be interesting. It will be a bit different format than what we have done in the past. So less people on stage, but more engagement time with each of them. So, and of course, a beautiful Adriatic coast, city of Split. Go and Google it if you haven't already. Let's see. What else can I say? I think that's enough. I may come back to the IFCC, but for now, I think we're ready to go with you, Jama.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you will notice this pretty ugly text below, but this is only because we realized in the last moment that Jama had like really wide screen resolution, so I had to put something below there. So it's a kind of additional promotional message. I hope you won't mind. I couldn't think of anything better, so here it is. And yeah, Jama, please be my guest.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, man. We did something quite a while ago, isn't it? It's funny that you say that. This is actually going to be my first IFCC, like a proper one, because, from our previous experience, I was there, but I wasn't. Like, first time I was getting married, I had to stay like few hours and go, and then we did the workshop. So this is going to be probably the most proper one.
It's your
And
favorite event that you've never actually been to in the right sense of the word. Yeah, but
exactly, and I heard a lot of good things about it.
yeah.
This event, it's fun. It's unorganized in a way which people love about it. What people love about it, and it's like a lot of fun. So hopefully this year we will do something cool.
Yeah, let's hope for it. It's your like third time in Zagreb, I think, if
Yep,
I'm not
yep.
mistaken. So, yeah, the first time you came like the last day, the last hour of the event, I think.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think I
yeah.
even borrowed my laptop. You just installed like I think it was back then you were really into 3D code,
Yep,
so it
yep.
was like express installation right before your presentation, and then next year we did a workshop, which was actually before the event.
Yes, yeah, it was
So
straight before the event.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we'll see. Last time it was the visa problem, I think, or something like that. So you couldn't show up.
There's always those,
Yeah,
they never
that
go
was the
away.
last year. So we'll see what happened this year. But let's hope that you'll join us as planned. Yeah. So I'm really happy to have Jama here because he's really an inspiration. Not just because I love his work, and of course all of you love his work and all that, but it's I'm so happy to see the way that your progress is going on. I'm so happy of this because of this new project that you started, big, medium, small thing, and this is because like I like seeing an artist who gets in control of his own destiny, and
Yeah.
I really hope in the future you'll be more and more and more independent in a sense that you actually get hired on only on those projects that you like to get hired. Maybe this is already a situation now, but it's really not easy to, to go that high. So,
Yeah.
uh, and since I mentioned big, medium, small, this is I really admire this move of yours and your colleagues. In recent years, we see more and more similar projects coming alive, which are which are started by the artist,
Hmm.
and because we do have, like, we always, I mean, for the last 10 or 15 years, we had like big websites with a lot of 3D models and textures and all that kind of stuff. But this is really something, where people, like, where top artists from the industry decide to do the best possible product for the industry. Someone like who knows what's missing. So
Yeah.
can you talk a bit about how did you come up to this idea?
Hmm.
Why did you choose like Templars for your first pack and all the castles and so on? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, there are a few things that you mentioned, which I kind of like felt a few years ago. Like working in the industry is amazing. I shouldn't say like they were boring projects. I mean, probably they were, but I almost every time it's all about my mindset, and I kind of enjoy everything they throw at me. But there was a week, I don't remember when, maybe 2 years ago, I had like a week off, and I was just playing with Blender, or was it 3D Code, just doing my own stuff, right? And it felt so good, right? So there was no deadline, there was no one like telling me what to do, and I was like, damn, this is what I shall do for the rest of my life. But it's of course like when you start doing your own stuff, you realize there's so many so it's not easy, it's very difficult. So I would say it's not the ultimate thing I want to do with my life, but it's one of the passions I have, is just to explore and just do something that I like, right? And especially when it comes to big, medium, small, actually, this I had this idea a long time ago, and mainly it's because when you work in studios or you work as a freelancer, this today's concept art is really heavily shifted towards 3D, and the main reason behind that is the speed. Like it's almost like you have to know 3D in order to work in films, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure in games it's getting there as well, just because the deadlines get very tight, and the clients they demand more and more, and it's just speed becomes very crucial. And it's not like you have to work like crazy fast. People always misunderstand the concept of speed. They think like, oh, you have to like crank out like thousands of meaningless concepts every day. No, they always give you time. But what I found difficult is when you work with the feedback, right? Like when you do something, let's say you did a drawing, and director goes like, oh, could you change the camera angle? And if it was a 2D drawing, that means a complete redraw, right? And those kind of situations forced me to obviously at some point I had to learn 3D. I wasn't learning. I became pretty good in 3D, but then I felt like every time I start something, I start from scratch, right? Like there are very good valuable resources, but it's very difficult to find one resource that will have everything I need for project. Like you can find a model on TurboSquid or somewhere else. Then you need a texture, you go on Google. Then you need something else, you go somewhere else. It's always scattered around the internet. And I always felt like, damn, I'm losing so much time, right? So I started doing my own like library of assets that I kind of reuse every time. And obviously, another aspect that I always felt is not very strong, like most of the assets are not like art directed, if I can say. They are like people make those just to in random kind of fashion. They do this and that and that, and I wanted to have something that will be very art directed, that people can they take that project as a base, and then because all the assets will be at a certain good quality, they can obviously take it to the next level. And this is something I had for a long time in my mind, but I'm like a big believer in collaboration. I just wanted to kind of find people who I can work with, and Oleg I had an amazing experience with him. He's an amazing artist, and on top of that, he's very enthusiastic and he's very positive about things. So we came together and we're like, oh, let's do what we like doing, and it's fun, right? And that's why we went for Templar project, because we both like this that kind of period of time. And then for almost 3 months, we were traveling, we were eating a lot of fish and chips, getting fat, and all that stuff. But in the end, it was very stressful. But we kind of made it. We finished our first pack, and yeah, we are actually working on the second one, and a lot more coming, hopefully in the upcoming months, and hopefully maybe years.
I guess soon you will need some additional help from other people.
Oh yeah, we would love to
Because
kind of.
eventually you will have to come back at least for some period of time to work on your for client projects. So
Yeah, well, I do work for clients. It's not my time job at the moment. So, but the good news when you doing it when it's fun, you don't recognize it and you don't consider it as a job. I just love doing the research part of it. When I have to travel, because I was traveling a lot anyway. So I was like, damn, I should somehow use that knowledge, right? And that's why, like, wherever I go, I have my camera now. I shoot the pictures. I try to analyze those and kind of like see if I can put together something valuable for other people to use.
I'll just copy and paste. I'm sure that everyone has heard about the big, medium, small in recent days, but I'll just paste in here in a chat window the URL. So. Okay, so can you please tell us something about the some technical details about the models that are present in the library?
Yeah.
So, and I just want to explain everyone, this is not a paid promotion or anything like that.
No.
I personally really am impressed by the project. So, and I think it's really valuable, and I really want to know more about it from Jama. And
Yeah.
since it's really hard to get Jama on the phone or whatever, so this is perfect situation for me to ask these questions, and I'm sure that you all want to know about it. So, yeah, please.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mark. So basically, like, there were a couple of ideas we had from the very beginning. What we wanted ultimately to do, is just plug and play models. Like when sometimes you get, like, you buy something on the internet or you download, and it takes so much time to make it look good. It's either normal maps are missing, it's either like textures are missing, something is always off. Or like you plug it in and you don't know where roughness needs to go. So we were like, okay, we're gonna make models that you can just plug in Octane, Blender, it doesn't matter, and they will look good. That's why we tested it so much. Like, if you've seen the artwork, and hopefully today I will show you more, they look good from any angle, like, because we spent really a lot of time making sure those textures look good, and they all kind of basically they look good from any angles. You can use aerial shots, you can use like close-ups and stuff like that, and that's obviously that was the reason why we relatively tried to do them low poly. Of course, this is not like a game low poly. Some of the models are quite heavy, but these days with like instancing and all that stuff, you can do a lot of magic. So the main idea was that make these models look good, and also, some people came to me like, "Oh, are these like rigged characters?" I was like, "No," because we're gonna make some rigged characters in the future, but I felt like for me, especially on the projects, the biggest waste of time is trying to rig like pose rigged characters. Sometimes, occasionally, you need that, but I just like, if something looks a little bit off, like on my post model, I can just paint it really quickly. Like let's say I have a guy who holds a spear, but I want him to hold a shield or something. I can quickly paint it. So, and that's why we offer like over 50 different poses. You can just like quickly place them wherever you want, and because they're like all of them are quite unique, they look pretty good and pretty random, and they don't look they basically don't look like a repetition of one model.
Okay, this is my phone ringing, so excuse me, everyone. It's a new one, so okay. Okay, thanks for the clarification of that part. What about I don't know if I'm mistaken, but were there some castles here also?
Yeah, we did, like I said, we did everything. We did models. We did textures. We shot like tons of textures. And hold on, let me scroll down. Yeah, there are also buildings. There was actually much deeper like philosophy behind big, medium, small. But I mean, The main idea is that you always start with big shapes, right? Like, for example, if you're doing Castle, you start just with low poly models, right? And then you use, for medium and small shapes, you use textures or displacements and stuff like that. So that's why I really wanted to make sure that if we have like just models, let's say low poly buildings, we had to make sure we have very good textures for them. And another very tricky thing that I found with textures, there are a lot of valuable resources like Quixel, Polygon. They do some really nice textures, but what I realized, most of the tiles that they offer, they are small. Like if you want to do the whole wall of castle, you're gonna see repetition, right? That's why we went out. We took like huge like panoramic, no, I wouldn't call panoramic, but really big tiles, like the whole wall for 8K textures, you know. So, and you can see, for example, on this example, it's just one texture, but it doesn't look repetitive because it's huge, right? And this is I think this is the main philosophy behind anything I want to do. I want to make sure that people will save time on using these assets. You know, it's not like, at least for now, we're not planning to do like game ready assets. That's definitely not our market. And we want to make something that like artists like me, concept artists or illustrators, they could just drag and drop these textures and make something look good. You know?
So this would be perfect for guys like Stephen Corman, like we interviewed young David Tilton a few weeks back. Guys who like good quality content to produce their own content. So just as a side note, what kind of equipment did you have on the field? Like what kind of camera was necessary?
Well, my camera is Fuji X-T3, so it's like I guess it's not DSLR camera, it's just the digital camera, but it's pretty good, you know, like the textures you can get out of it, they're pretty decent if you obviously know how to shoot them.
How much planning was involved in all this? I mean, this looks like really this doesn't look like a job from a two-man team. This looks like a bit more serious. So, and since there was like two of you, like, was it like you know, I guess you had to do some serious planning there, like you know, like not to spend too much time on you know, like unimportant stuff and be focused more on like productivity.
Yeah, you know, like we both coming from ex-Soviet Union. Oleg is from Russia, I'm from Tajikistan, so we really work hard. Because we know how it's difficult. If you don't work, they will just you know, you will lose something. That's what we feel all the time. Anyway, so yeah, we did a lot of tests. Like maybe for a month, we would just purely doing tests because, again, as I said many times, I just wanted to make sure that we offer something that people could use. You know, like it's not too overcomplicated, because that's another aspect. You know, like if I'm working on a project and I want a castle at the background, I don't want to pay like $1,000 for like amazing detailed castle model, right? It's just nonsense. It just doesn't make sense, right? And to find a good balance, it took us a while. You know, how much we can get away with textures and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say we had a rock solid plan. We just had steps that we went through. First was just referencing, shooting textures, and then slowly we moved into making assets. And Oleg was working really hard on characters back and forth. We were trying to make them look as good as possible, you know, like especially when it gets to drapery, man. Like last thing you want to do is to like go into marvelous designer and start like making patterns for your character when you have to deliver like in 3 hours, right? It's just impossible. That's where you start photo bashing, you start doing all this stuff, which is also great. It's just another tool, but obviously once you have a fully realized 3D character, you can do way more. You know, you can.
Yeah. Well, I totally believe in this project because I've seen you live demoing. You know, I mentioned when you came like the last minute to the IFCC and did this presentation. So there's a lot of improvisation involved in your work as well, and so you're really kind of artist that only uses like what's necessary, you know, like because back there you really did some kind of super fast, I don't know if it was a ship or a character, I don't know, but you just did it in like a 3D code and imported it to the tool bag. Marmoset. And you're actually like, you're focusing on like more on silhouettes than details, but then again it's amazing to have something with so much detail, because then you can rotate it in any way, light it in any
Mm-hmm.
way, and you
Mm-hmm.
still have enough information for
Yeah.
the presentation purpose or even the production.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just check. I know we had some questions here, and then after, so you can prepare yourself. I'll probably, if you don't have anything else to add, or if you
Yeah.
have, I'll ask you if it was be possible to just do some kind of a demo of like how
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
content can be
Absolutely.
used.
Absolutely.
But let me jump here into questions. Just a second. Okay, message from Raja. Raya, I don't know, probably from India. Any chance for any workflow breakdown? Like, okay, so this is something that we'll do later. David Tilton asks, how does Jama stay creatively motivated to do personal work while also having a studio job? I feel like I've dried up a bit creatively after working on the same project for a year.
Yeah, I think David needs to pay me like a therapy fee. Every time I go there, he asks me something like that. No, I'm just kidding. Just so you know, guys, David is a good friend of mine, so we have a special relationship. I mean, I'm okay to reply to Roger's question, but maybe as I open the files,
Yeah.
it will make more sense. Well, coming to motivation, man. Yeah, it's difficult. I always tell people, like, sometimes I'm the most miserable person in the world. I just realize I work so much and I do nothing else. I do a lot of things on site, but I think it's all about attitude. There is it. Like I said in the beginning, when you work in studios, you never know what they throw at you. Sometimes you do cool dinosaurs, next to you do Pokemons, and like if you adjust your attitude and tell yourself, oh, actually Pokemons is fun, I've never done those, you can have fun. I think that having fun is the biggest word that is kind of missing, and that's why you start struggling. And most of the time, again, most of the time, occasionally you get some shit projects that you hate. That's like you can't do anything about it, but often it's about our own attitude. Like sometimes you don't paint for 2 weeks, but it doesn't mean job is not fun. You just do a lot of 3D and then you have time painting up something. It's just, and like we all know, the grass is greener somewhere else. Like I remember when I used to be a matte painter, I was like, damn, look at this concept guys. I love what they're doing, like so fast, so creative. I want to do that. And then I went to concept art. I was like, damn, I want to go back to matte painting. Those guys are super slow, super chilled out, super relaxed. There's nothing to create. I don't say nothing to create, but nothing like super creative. You just need to replace, like, let's say, the background with some beautiful mountains, right? The grass is always greener. So what I learned is that I should enjoy it as much as possible, and not just like blindly tell myself, oh, I should enjoy it, I shouldn't enjoy it. I just do like all these different little things that make it fun, like let's say I work on something and I go like, oh, maybe I can try it in a different way and make it faster. And that challenge pushes me towards like exploring some new maybe techniques. And it's always fun, in the end, like what we do is not like, it is fun, like there are so many more, like so much like crazy worse jobs out there, and we're not doing them. We're doing some fun part, just like creatively related with some creative process and stuff like that. So it's about mindset, David. You will learn it once you come to 35 years. You will go like, oh, now I see what Jama meant. So for now, just relax, let it go.
Okay, and we have one more, I think, from Artyom. Why Templar moved to Kazakhstan? This is a big question.
Oh my god. I don't know if you know the story. I posted a few Instagram stories with Templars and just dropped a line under them, like saying somewhere in Kazakhstan. I sometimes I don't know what to say, like, and I don't, like, some people go like often have something to write, they go like, oh, this is what I did, blah blah blah. I was like, I don't have anything to say, I better just drop something, right? and also, in movies, whenever they show somewhere some guy speaking in Russia or Russian soldier behind the fences, you would always have this writing underneath and saying like somewhere in Kazakhstan, right?
Yeah.
So that was something like that, right? So there was nothing specific, but yeah, little I knew, all the Kazakh people started messaging me like, "What happened in Kazakhstan?" And no one was offended, but they knew it's a joke. But it was funny that people actually messaged me more after drop the line saying it's somewhere in Kazakhstan. So I should probably do more, like somewhere in Venezuela, then all the Venezuelans artists message you. That's awesome.
Okay, let's move back to the content you've created.
Yeah, before we move back,
okay.
I want to tell, I specifically opened this image here. So we shot a lot of textures, like I said. We actually did a lot of photo scans, so all of these textures are photo scans. Obviously, this is not nearly like Quixel mega scans quality, because those guys, like, they work their ass off to make them. But we spent a lot of time scanning those, and what we found really, again, our main idea was to scan big patches.
Yeah, so what we see here, there's no tiling here, right? This is all...
No, there's no tiling, because they're so big, you don't need tiling. Like, you don't see it most of the time.
If you said it, I think I missed it, but how big are they? Is it like 4K or 8K? Or?
Well, it's not the... most of them are 4K, I think. It's not the resolution that makes them big. It's just the scale of them, you know? And the way we divided them in big, medium, small, so the closer you get to the camera, then you substitute them with like medium or small. Like, let's say if you're very close, you use smalls, which is just like big stones, you know, but obviously they are tiled and you see the tile. And we have a lot of seamless textures as well, so the photo scan ones are not seamless. Anyway, so one of them, because we wanted them to kind of walk in the on like a muddy surface, we couldn't find mud in London. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of mud in London, but this one specifically I wanted to find was like when you have like really muddy ground and you have footsteps and stuff like that. You probably know we have a lot of that in Eastern Europe, right? We couldn't find it, so what Oleg did, he went to zoo and he sneaked into pig, like you know, when they keep the pigs, and he scanned that area, and it was perfect. You know, all the... like it has a certain look, you know, medieval ground, because it's not only mud, but it had some like dry grass and stuff like that, so it was really, really funny.
To be honest, like yesterday I met some like wild, how do you call the wild pig in English?
Yeah, boar.
Boar, yeah. I met some boars because we were on some property, and they have like part of it's in woods, you know, and it's like a fence, and then like whole family of boars came, and this is the first time I had a chance to see a live boar, like from like 1 meter, you know, distance.
That's awesome.
And they're amazing, you know, and they're all covered, like all their fur is covered like in mud, you know.
Yeah.
So they look like really, really, you know, like, I mean, I don't think I've ever been so close, you know, to the wild animal in wild, you know. So and cool. Amazing, like there were like 20 of them, and the thing is, like all the area that they're like inhabit there, they do so much like ground digging and mud and all, really looking strange, you know. You see that something is living there, like, you know, they messed up all the ground, you know, in that forest, you know. So anyways,
I should go there to take some references. You see this mud over here, right? It's very, very cool because of the footsteps and stuff like that. It was really cool. So Oleg did sacrifice a lot of things, so his shoes were all messed up after like taking the reference out there. All right, so let me actually show you. Like I specifically for this stream, I prepared like some like new images, so we can look at them, and then basically I can show you like some Blender files as well. So this is how the setup looks like. It's not all characters; it's just the walking guys. And it's very cool. Also, the other, you know, some people go like, "Oh, but if I take your Templars, they will look exactly like your Templars." No, because you can change them as you want. Like, for example, you can go and select, for example, this guy, remove his crown. So everything is modular. You know, you can put this flag over here. So it's like basically like a kit bash, right? It is a kit bash. You can use those and mix them together, and that by doing that, you will come up with something unique. Also, when it comes to textures as well, you can just change textures, you know. For example, let's say all of these guys, like originally they have like some of them have white, some of them have black clothes, but you can go to textures, just swap the color and swap. And I already see some people doing that. They put like different graphics on the chest and stuff like that. So the idea behind these characters, yes, obviously you can use them as they are if you're doing a similar project, and hopefully when we release like 10 of those, it will probably cover a lot of different subjects as well. We're gonna do sci-fi, we're gonna do Vikings and all this stuff, but also you can use these characters as a starting point. Let's say you want to have a nice looking walking character which has a cape like this, but it's like a sci-fi character. You just remove the helmet and you can paint up the rest.
Yeah.
You
just put like a Vader's helmet and that's it.
You get the Vader's helmet, put it on, and it's done. But what we really wanted to concentrate on as well was the poses. One of the reasons why I find very difficult myself rigging characters, because not rigging, like posing characters, because it's difficult. It needs a little bit of like animation knowledge. It needs a little bit of, obviously, a lot of anatomy and all that stuff. So, and that just takes time. When you want a tight project, you don't want to deal with that. You want to take something that looks already good. And as you see, like if you look from the side, they all look pretty.
I think this is also perfect for. I mean, I'm currently working on a project where actually I realized I need a lot of poses for the storyboard. I have to tell a story, and it would just take too much time, for me to, draw everything, So I guess this is also like if you have like a story that's even either medieval or whatever, even sci-fi, it's just good to have like a lot of posed models, to use for the scenes.
Yeah. And like I said, it's totally doable. You can do it by yourself, but it's just a matter of time. You just literally don't have it. Like no one cares if you have to model something, like, how can I put it? Let's say you're doing a medieval project or something that you need some like characters. Your final goal is to make a final picture or concept art or illustration, but you realize like first day you're just trying to build those assets. That's the biggest disadvantage of 3D. You actually have to build it before you start rendering, but then obviously once you have it, the speed picks up and you can like get some really, really nice convincing images. That's why like I was struggling with it. I was like, okay, I should do something that could potentially help other people to kind of skip that stage of building. Again, you have to build something, you have to tweak things, you have to rearrange, but this is a good solid starting point.
So let's just talk a bit about the software that currently open on your desktop. So Blender works perfectly fine with all the geometry. We see like is the new version 2.8. So I know that you're like really big on Blender, and in recent like year, I think you've been posting a lot of stuff that you did in Blender. Like few words, for those who are still. We also have like some questions related to the software and so on. So just few words about Blender, because I really like promoting it. Because
you can just say one word. It's awesome, right? It's great. It kind of like what I like about Blender. I know some people, whenever I said that, they get like, I shouldn't say angry, but it's upsetting people these days. It's super easy when you say something online, but Blender is so fast, like when you launch Blender, it just launches straight away, 2-3 seconds. And and once I made this post about Maya, where like for me it was launching a minute or so, obviously people went like mental about it, like, wow, how dare you say that, blah, blah, blah. But probably most of you guys know this phase. I have it all the time. I call that phase the phase when Maya crashes, right? You go like, damn. And you're not concerned that you lost your work because you probably saved it or auto-saved it. You're concerned that you need to reopen it again, and you gotta wait again. This is like sometimes my Blender crashes. I just double click and it's back up again. It is one of those things that like people kind of underestimate. Imagine how much time overall you have to wait, and plus this is directly impacts the import speed. Like let's say if I have some assets, I can quickly import them, and it's very fast. Just as Blender opens, it's almost like opening another like instance of Blender is super fast, And then it's another really cool thing, and this is exactly, we probably optimize these characters the best for Blender, especially because look, if I have two blenders open, like let's say if I go and open another blender. Okay. And now it takes longer than it normally takes. But I think whenever you're running Skype, it always does that. Alright. What the hell? There is something. It's coming, guys. It's coming. Okay. So what you can do, if I pull up Blender, another instance of Blender, and I put it here so you can see it. Like usually people ask me, like, oh, how do you like organize your library of assets and blah blah blah. I normally don't, because you don't need to, because you can have one Blender file with all your assets inside that Blender, and then all you need to do, like for example, I can select this character, and let's say here I would have my master scene, right, with all the buildings and the composition and the cameras. Here in Blender, I just Control copy and I go here and I press Control V, and it's here. You see? Obviously, I have more than one character selected, I guess. Yeah, you just move things around. Like you copy this character, you go here. You know.
This is really great thing about Blender, and the fact, I don't know how it's in other 3D apps, but also the fact that you can like import right from the file. So you can also like import and then choose which object from a certain file you want to import into a new file, and also this just what you have shown us. So yeah, I think I think this answers is Blender like good enough? But of course there's a lot of evidence of that, you know, on the internet. So but yeah, just wanted to tackle a bit.
Yeah, but Blender is great. Yeah. I mean, you know, sometimes people like get in touch with me and say, "Oh, what do you think should I learn?" I was like, "Try it out. You never know. It works for me, and I see a lot of positive sides about it. You know, it's fast, it's reliable, it's free, rarely crashes. I mean, once they get the like proper final one, it probably would crash even less. And also because it has this. This is also another debate that's happening, like the paid add-ons. Like, you know, Blender is free, so but you can buy some cool add-ons, and I think that's what makes Blender amazing. You know, because when people are rewarded like financially for doing some add-ons, they do like these amazing add-ons. You know, super useful. Like there is hard ops, there is speed flow. There's tons of different things that people just create for their workflow, and then they go,
there's a new one I want to mention, since you mentioned like hard ops, and we have like a box cutter, and then also like speed flow, which I use a lot as well. And there's a new one called Fluent, which is like really good.
Yeah, I actually tried it. It looks very promising as well. Yeah. So it's like you have this guy super talented, and he or she works like long enough on something to perfect that workflow, and then they offer it for sale, and it's so easy to integrate. You know, like integrating add-ons into Blender is just like literally you add, you go here, you go to preference, and you add add-ons. So
I have to add something here. So sorry for interrupting, but I kind of get really pissed when I read all the comments about like, oh shit, you know, like this is a paid add-on, Blender is free, and so on. So I mean, people have to understand that, you know, no one works for free. So even guys in the Blender Institute, they are financially covered. You know, they have like their ways of getting like money, getting how do you say, like investment. You know, to, you know, because they have to live. You know, they have to pay for food. You know, so and guys who are doing like Blender add-ons, like trust me, like they're underpaid, you know, like all the Blender add-ons are they're most like one-time payment, and they're mostly like I don't know if I know maybe 2 add-ons that are like more than, I don't know, like $100. Most of them are like between 5 and 50, and those are like really gems, you know. They're really useful add-ons. And you know, I get pissed because I read a lot of comments from artists like, oh, look at this email, someone asked me to do like artwork for free, or you'll get like a free promotion, that kind of stuff, you know. Then, you know, if you're laughing at that, you know, then you should also laugh at those who are like asking free stuff. I mean, it's, if you use these tools for making money, you'll get your money back in in your first job, you know. So of
Yeah.
course you have to pay for the things that you're making money from, you know. It's
Yeah.
like a normal thing.
Well, it's been always like that. People always, well, people should say if they have something to say, like people express their opinions. I respect it, but I just do my own thing, like I do what I like, and especially when you're trying to do something different, often people don't like it.
Yeah.
They think you're cheating. They think you're doing something like extra.
Internet can be a nasty place sometimes.
It does, but what I did from the very beginning, I just never reacted, even though sometimes I disagree. I don't want to waste my time. I'm already super busy, right?
Yeah.
And it's always about attitude. I think I have a very positive attitude to anything I do. I try to there's so much fun stuff to explore, like why should I spend my effort and my energy on some negative aspects of it? Like if I don't like something, then I just don't use it, right?
Definitely.
Obviously, this is the guy who always talks shit about ZBrush, but ZBrush is like on the separate shelf for me.
Yeah.
No, I'm not talking ZBrush. Dude, like trust me, I'm so open-minded. Like even today I was watching this tutorial of ZBrush 2019. I look at it and I was like, damn, this is so cool. But I wish it was so much easier
Yeah, I
in
know.
terms of interface.
I love ZBrush. In my case, I don't think that ZBrush has like a bad interface, because maybe that's because like it was my first like software that I started like seriously using, and also, ZBrush is not just a sculpting tool; it has so much options, So and they had to put it somewhere in the UI,
I think you exactly said what I was just trying to say. It's an amazing software, and it must be. It is stupid to say that it's a bad software. It's a great software, but they somehow need to change the way they present. I know they don't give a shit about what I say, but it just like I was watching this really cool feature called what is the projector where you can project like shapes.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, that's like anyway, let's not go there. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
There's so many unnecessary moves,
When for me, my perspective, and after I'm done with this, we'll jump, back into the UI of the Blender and start working. But I just want to say this: I wish I would like to sometimes to say something like some critics like on the software, but then I find a tutorial from a guy, for example, you using for example what's the name of the damn tool in Blender for drawing
grease pencil,
and then I want to say something bad, and then I like see you doing like all this magic stuff inside, and I'm like, okay, so it's okay. It's just that I don't know how to use it, and that's the same thing with ZBrush. I see a tutorial by Michael Pavlovich,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like ZBrush wizard, and like he does stuff, and he uses stuff that I'm aware of, but like he really uses them for the purpose they're made for, like, and he's so effective, so fast, So it's so hard to use just one software these days because there are so many new ones and they all have these amazing features they want to learn. And of course, you've been many times the first one who push the software to their limits, beginning like from 3D code and VR stuff that you use in Gravity Sketch and all this. Now Blender in the recent year. So but let's jump back to your to the big, medium, small. I would like to see, if it's not too stressing, like while we talk, how would you proceed, with your own product? For example, we could start a scene or whatever, whatever you want to.
I can show. Obviously, it's very tough to do demos and talk about it. So
of course.
Basically, if people know my workflow a little bit, I always kind of separate the rendering part from the modeling part. And the reason why I do it, it's just my personal taste, I just always feel like if I have a render next to me all the time, I get distracted so much, Like, for example, these days you put like a GPU render window somewhere, right? And you keep like looking at it all the time. Oh, that looks cool. And you kind of... So usually what I do, I separate the modeling part where it's basically like setting up my scene, right? So I start with these guys, I put them in the order. I just think purely in terms of content, right? What is this scene about, right? Like, for example, okay, I'm gonna do like a bunch of people walking, right? It's a marching of Templars. They're going to Jerusalem or somewhere, right? And I first I get myself busy with the content. I'm not getting distracted by the composition because that's like a final goal. Once I come there, I will be fully concentrated on that, right? So, for example, here I took these characters, and I can actually show you the scene that I'm working on right now. So, if we go and open Octane here, yeah, and I use Octane standalone. As you see, it just supports my philosophy that I use I separate those two steps.
Yeah,
completely.
Same thing here. I love Octane standalone.
Yeah,
much more than the plugin version.
Yeah, I mean plugins are great. If you like plugins, go for it. But I always felt like plugins are definitely slower, and sometimes by significant margin. Because you have all this back end of like the huge software, the modeling part, the animation. So plugins always will be slower. And there is like a lot. There are actually a lot of cool things I love about a standalone one, and it's, for example, I mean, you probably, when you look at this node system, you go, "What the hell is going on here?" Right? I do the same. If I open this project 2 weeks later, I will probably go like, "Ah, damn, what did I do here?" Right? It's not that bad, but it looks a bit intimidating. But actually, it's really straightforward. It's like a mind map of your project, right? Like, let's say if you want to work on a complex project, you always you kind of tend to do mind map, right? The main and the inputs and all that stuff. Same here. So I've got this one render node, which is basically responsible for rendering something, right? And then I have all this nodes connected, and basically what's happening here, I have all my geometry on my scene connected via nodes. So actually Octane itself, I mean the window I see here, doesn't have any geometry. It's just nodes, it's text. That's why it's so light, to save it, to move them around, to create new versions, to create wedges, to change cameras and all that stuff. If this was inside your software, every time you want to save version, you have to save another file and then open it if you need it. It just gets a bit messy, and doesn't work the way my brain works. I like to experiment. I like to find different ideas, to look for different angles, to look for different storytelling elements. And in order to do that, I need to see this whole mind map, and I need to be able to copy it very quickly.
I want to
well.
just comment something. This is like a perfect example how far you can go just with 3D content if you have enough data on textures and models, because this is all 3D, right? What we're seeing here in the scene. So this really needs a little of touch-ups in later on, maybe in Photoshop or something, because this already looks quite finished. So
well, that's another thing that I think the guys who watching this stream will find useful. What I always felt with 3D, you kind of know what you want, but there's so many missing links, right? First, there's no atmosphere, right? You can render something, and we know as fog and atmospherics play a huge role in composition, right? That's how you compose your shots when you're a cinematographer, or that's how you kind of as an artist, we art direct the picture to make focal points and stuff like that. So I often found myself doing all that stuff in 2D. It's like you have 3D, but you only using it for color, for basic light and stuff like that. So, and as I will show you here, just having a fog as composition element helps so much. For example, let's say if I go here, let's just double check if this is the right scene. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Hold on, let me just copy it and do a new way, new variant, so I'm not messing up anything. So you see, just doing versions are so quickly. Right now I'm basically copied all the nodes and I created a new version of my file, so I'm not messing with the compositions I had. And now let's just make it slightly bigger. Okay, so I kind of like this composition. It's a long glance, but obviously look how it looks like without the fog elements. You see? doesn't look anything good as it was, you know. It's still a good solid start, like, you know, because like if I change my camera to something else, because I have all this character and there are tons of them. Hold on, look at this. There are like, I think there are 2,000 something. Of course, they are all instants. That's the beauty of 3D, you know, like once, and because all these characters, they have custom poses. Like you should really look carefully to spot the duplicates, you know, because
just let me ask you this. You mentioned instance, so like you imported like the few of them as an OBJ, right? To the scene, and I guess this really long node below, it's all the.
No, my instancing is here. So you see, I use scattering nodes, which I import, and scattering nodes have the geometry kind of location information. So every one of those have one of them, and obviously you see now they follow the path. So I designed it very nicely, and then once I did that, I moved on into the final stage where I actually start comping like the cinematic frames I wanted to kind of come up with, you know. And you see how like I don't like the word smart. People go, who is this asshole who thinks he is smart? But I think I do something that saves me time. You know, like you see the texture on the ground here?
Yeah.
I stretch it and I adjust it specifically per compositions that I would love to. So usually like a lot of like, including me, I did it as well when I was starting. I tried to make this perfect scene that will look great from any angle, right? Because you don't have time for that, right? First, and it's impossible, you know, creating all those rocks. It's gonna be like really crazy, heavy geometry, right? So, like you see, like I what I do, I look for a nice composition, and when I find it, if there is any stretching, I can just like go to my texture map and just adjust the texture, and it will look good. For example, if I go over here. Where is my... Okay. Yeah, look, I can move my... And you see also a composition element. Like, texture is not there just for lighting or for like color information. It's a great compositional element, you know? And having it as a JPEG allows me, like, on the fly control the lighting. Even if it's not real, like, you think like there's a big mountain right now on the left-hand side. There's not, but it's something that I would do manually in Photoshop if I wanted to control this composition. But now it gives me much more creative freedom, you know, that it's, and again, you see, it's not speed that's essential here. Yes, it's kind of, I'm quickly knocking this out very, like very quickly, but the idea here is that it impacts your creative process. You become brave because you don't mess like for 3 hours with something that doesn't work. You see it, and you make your decision.
Just let me know if like this ground is this is this all one mesh or is this like multiple?
No, it's just one mesh. Just one mesh.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a very simple low poly hills or something that I made. So the way I made it, first I made the ground so I know where the passage is, and then I placed the instances along the passage, and then that's why it kind of follows the path. And now, like, here, like, often people ask me, I mean, the guys who took my courses, they know how much I care about storytelling, you know, they ask me, like, how to make frames more cinematic, you know, like, cinematic frame is not a goal. The goal is to tell the story, and cinematic frame is just the tool to deliver that feeling, you know. So when I do my frame cinematic, I just try to focus on the story. What's important? What's the focal point? You know, all the basic stuff that you learn about, composition, you can apply it here, and having all those elements on the very simple planes with the characters already posted, it's much more easier, you know. And from here, like, for example, let's say I like this angle, I like the way that it's curving and going away from us. Obviously, this doesn't, it kind of looks real. I can export just this and work it up in Photoshop if I want, but I always love to add this, to control my fog directly in the camera, you know. And if I, like, for example, go here and place my fog, like you see the background, it kind of breaks it up a little bit. And now I'm going at another fog element. You see that this is already like, this could be like a very misty environment, it's a desert or something like that. And you see this, like the breakdown here. First, I thought it may be just a rock, like, but maybe it's trees, and you have puddles, like the pools of light, and you can put a couple of dry trees here and there, and that's it, It just gives you so many different ideas.
Yeah. And in Octane, you can also like really easily color the fog, so it can be a bit more like maybe yellow or whatever.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
The composition, like the way you can adjust your picture, you can do it also later on in Photoshop. That's probably what I do usually.
Cool. Let's go through some questions, and while we do that, if you think of anything else that you could maybe show, just prepare it. But let's go through questions now. Okay, so Juan asks, this is actually from the beginning of the stream, so let's see if it's still related to what we're talking here. This is my question right now. I'm in university, we focus on Maya for concept art, but for the second year we are free to use any software we want. So I guess he's asking if the Blender is good enough, and I think we already answered that it is. He said like, I want to start using Modo. Modo is also great software, so but for the if it's a budget thing, like definitely go with Blender, I would say. Kalina asks, will Jama be on any other events besides IFCC and Lightbox in 2019?
I don't know. Yeah, well, I think this year I'm more focused on doing in-studio events. Like I would, because I've been doing these workshops quite a while, and it's not like I'm bored or tired, which part of it is, but I almost felt like I don't have much to tell right now, if that makes sense. But for studios, I do, because I want to meet artists. I want to show them and actually show them how to just inspire them, And I already have this year a few studios I'm gonna visit, and hopefully next year I'll kind of keep the same thing.
Additional question from David. So how has Jama found the switch between 2.7.9 and 2.8 Blender version? So was it problematic for you, the plugins that you might be using or anything like that? No, it's really easy.
First it was crashing a little bit, but like I said,
but it was Blender, like early alpha, beta,
very early builds. So in Blender you don't have that Maya crash phase, right? Because you're using Blender. Obviously they didn't have a few plugins that I love. They're still kind of working on them, but there are so many great things about new Blender. The Eevee, the real-time renderer. It's just
you also use. We have these questions here about the Eevee and so on. I guess you also use for some purposes Eevee as well. So.
Sometimes
it's not like you're devoted to Octane.
No. I like there are pros and cons. Obviously, what Octane does very well is obviously the realistic rendering. Like Eevee still struggles. At least I don't know how to do it properly. Is the bounce light? It always looks a bit gamey. But again, it's just always tricky to talk about tools, about approaches,
of course.
Because people want to hear what they want to hear. If they disagree, they go, "Oh, no, that's not true." And I always say it's not about tools. Tools will change, and you can almost witness it right now. 5 years ago, I was like, "Oh, 3D Coder is great." It's still a great tool, but they did not develop it as I want, and some tools had more options for me, so I started using them. And saying that, I still use 3D Coder. I think 3D Coder is a great program. It's intuitive, it's simple, it's cool. But what I wanted to say is that tools will always be just tools. 5 years from now, the tools will change. We will maybe have some VR, AR, mixture of those. What is important is to have fundamentals. It's interesting that sometimes I meet artists who are quite successful, but you see some gaps. You see some. I do have gaps in my fundamentals, so whenever I have time, I work on those. Because that's how you switch. That's how you switch to other softwares or programs or tools very quickly. It doesn't really matter. All you need to do is just learn a little bit of interface. The rest is all about your fundamental knowledge. How well you know composition, how well you know camera principles, lighting, and so on. That's why once you get those sorted out, once you are confident enough, Software is just a matter of a couple of weekends, a couple of months, or a couple of years. It doesn't matter. You can learn software. The rest is really connected to your overall knowledge of
I think it's really cool.
principles.
I mean, I really try. I don't have so much chance to do artworks because of other
Hmm.
responsibilities I have, but during these sessions, that I have with artists and you now, I really try to, from each session to remember at least one piece of advice. So, and
Mm.
I remember like two things from you. Uh, uh, from the sessions we had in the past, because I think we did like two interviews so far,
Yeah.
or one, I don't know. But one thing is, like be more focused on a story that you're trying to tell,
Hmm.
and the other thing was related actually to characters
Hmm.
and character design. And you said like, I you said like I always try to like put them in some kind of movement,
Hmm.
to avoid like typical you like T pose or A pose. And
Hmm.
this is something that I really later on when I did some sketches I really remembered, and it's really true. It's the character. It's so much more interesting if it at least if it like if it turns the head a bit,
Hmm.
and if it's running or doing something, like it looks so much interesting that the like
Hmm.
this static pose, even
Yep.
if it's just for the purpose of design, like concept art,
Hmm.
like character design. It's so cool to put it in a pose so much better. It looks so much better because then you see its intention,
Hmm.
what's he all about or she. So yeah, so this is something I think that all of you guys here, like if you go through like live interviews, I'm sure you do, and listening to advices from artists like Jama, definitely try to pick few of them that you find like useful, and try to implement them in your workflow. So Nigel asks, this is probably related to the models itself, like
Hmm.
are they like decimated? Are they like decimated versions of
Hmm. Hmm.
models like?
Yeah, right now we offered what we think is like medium resolution. So uh, you can obviously see I have 2,000 something characters, and it's pretty good. Of course, my machine it's not like super amazing, but it's pretty decent.
You can tell
But
us some specs,
yeah, I can
because
tell you.
there's also
So
another question about your
yeah, I saw that
text
one.
specs. So
I have two 1080s, so it's not even TIs. It's like a first generation of 1080s that came out like 3 years ago. I think my RAM is 46 gigabyte or something. Yeah, but the thing about machines and like upgrading your machine, the moment you upgrade it, you just get greedier. Like
hmm
it's always like that. No matter what machine you have, you will hit the ceiling. You will
I've
hit the
seen some
point of
guys in Octane groups, like they're building skyscrapers of like Nvidia
no.
cards and
Oh,
stuff
good,
like that.
good for them. They're doing some awesome machines. If I have, I mean, if I had a chance, I would get myself one as well. But I have this one, and it's a big machine, big box. I was like, damn, if I buy another one, there's no place where I could put it. So for now, I'm all right. And also, this is something that I wanted to tell later, but I think I'm gonna say it now. Uh, and I'm pretty sure some of you guys seen this before. I don't rely heavily on just 3D. Even though I get it to the I get to the point where it looks good. Like I said, it looks like kind of you just render it color correct and it's done, right? But I always know that I can paint over. I can make it even better with my drawing and painting skills. So let's say if I have a scene that's super slow with just like tons of fog and volumetrics, I just do what I can and make sure that I have a good creative control over my scene. I'm not like seeing one per frame per second. I get what I can get maximum from that setup, and then I move on and I start paint over because there's so much you can do with paint over, and it's so much faster as well in some cases. So
That's something that we were discussing here in the studio. Like we were just like doing some, like checking like workflows of some artists, and both like 2D and 3D artists, and like 3D guys, like who are only focused on 3D, they're actually not aware. Like it really makes sense to invest time into learn some like 2D skills or 2D hacks, I would say, because like
mhm.
like as a concept artist, you use a lot of like silhouettes and like predefined stuff that you can put in your scenes, but you can do you can do some amazing stuff like super fast, and if especially if you have like knowledge of 3D, this can be like a really killer tool, killer workflow for you. So definitely, like you can do a lot of 3D. You use a lot of 2D in your workflow, I know.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
it really
I
makes
mean,
sense.
usually the way I do it, like for example, it's probably good timing to show it. Like for example, for every project I do, again, speed is one kind of reasons why 3D makes everything much faster and all that stuff. But again, I'm more like I prefer to say that 3D allows you to be more creative if you set it up right in the right way. You see, like for example, this project, I was able to like do all these like setups that usually I render a bunch of this, right? I probably need to zoom out a little bit just to explore ideas, the storytelling aspects, right? And like once I render them, in Octane you don't need to render. You just wait a little bit and you right click and you save
Yeah.
it.
Octane is amazing. I mean, we've been using since the version 0.5, I think. It was alpha, still like 5 years ago, or 6 or 7. I don't know. Like, I mean, this effect that you right away you get something like a perfect camera shot, like real life thing, and it still has that, so it's amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry for interruption.
No, and now I just like right click, save it out, just look.
Hmm.
And again, I'm not trying to get perfect like 100%. Yes, I'm pushing it as much as possible as I can, because again, I have this amazing tool. Why should I skip like the atmospherics part of it, and then try to apply it with like later? I just want it in camera because, like you see, for example, here on this image, I have highlights only on the front row, and this is deliberate, like a very deliberate choice, because I wanted our focal point to be on these characters, and you see how silhouetted the background characters are. This is something that like I would do in 2D anyway, and I probably will reinforce it afterwards slightly. But having that in camera allows me just to go like, oh, that's the idea, that's the shot I want. It's almost like being a cameraman of this 3D world, and it's really exciting. And then I went, maybe I can do like a night scene, or maybe like this. Here I had an idea of some of them having like torches, just to make that like very nice visual path. And this is like more, and it's the same file, but it looks like they're walking through snowy landscape. They're going through deserts, but it's just the same file. Me putting like cameras in different position in different places, and again, using the fog elements and the atmosphere, it just allows me to do it so fast,
Okay, let's go through some more questions. Okay, okay. Has Jama fully substitute 3D code with Blender? Like any thoughts on Eevee? Okay, we've gone through it, so I'll answer this if you don't mind. Like, so Jama is still using 3D code when needed, and as he said, like it's really not. He's not so worried about what tool he uses. So you just use the right tool for the right purpose, and it can be a different thing for a different artist. So it's like there are no rules here.
Yep, but no, I totally understand when people ask questions like, and it's important to give them an answer as well. So this big debate about the brushes, like, oh, the brushes that doesn't matter. They do matter. Like
Definitely.
I have this one brush, and I don't know if I ever said publicly. I would always say about it at workshops. This is one brush I would never share with anyone, because this is what makes my work look like my work. Like I don't want other artists to start doing similar things, because it took me so many years to kind of master the way I paint and to create this brush. So I want to keep it to myself. It doesn't make me a bad person, because anyone who knows me, if you ask me to like, oh, could you buy me a free kebab? Sure, I can do that for you, but not the brush, okay? And brushes do matter. Same with programs, they do matter. Like, and obviously people like when they see all this like cool stuff, they go, oh, should we learn ZBrush? Should we learn that one? And instead of just saying it's tools, which we all know, it's always good to, like you said, to kind of say for certain things you would use that, and for certain things it's all about logic. You need to be very conscious about your decisions. And once you know that, it will allow you to be much more efficient with your time, and also will allow you to be efficient with your tools as well.
Okay, let's see. Okay, we have like from Ivan. Do you have any tips on creating fog in Octane that isn't too heavy on the render? I think that are you using VDBs. I think that the fog in Octane is like actually pretty simple when you realize what sliders to use properly. So if you can just Jama, if it's not a problem for you, just to show like what specific node
Mhm.
is used for the fog, and like how to set sliders right.
Yeah, well, like you said, it's a VDB file. You can find a bunch of free VDBs on the internet. It's I don't know even what's the technology behind this VDB, but basically it's like clouds. It's like you can have it uniform or you can have patches, just as I use, because having patches allows you to kind of have this different areas of like silhouettes against each other. And then it's all about like you have in Octane standalone, you have two settings. First of them is density, which is pretty like obvious. You can increase the density, but then this is where people freak out. Like, oh, it doesn't look right. Yes, it doesn't. It needs a bit like of tweaking. Sometimes it doesn't work for certain things. And I heard Redshift's fog is much better, but I never tried Redshift because I don't use Maya or 3D Max. Hopefully they do it for Blender. Maybe I can give it a go. And then another slider you have is volume step length, which means like it either makes it blurry or makes it very like gives you exact shape of that fog, like for example, and it makes it much more denser. And you see, every time you move those sliders, you come up with these really interesting ideas. It's really, really impressive. Like sometimes you would have like dark background and foreground characters will be lit, or you can do vice versa, and that's what makes this like the fog element very powerful. And I'm so glad that we finally have this GPU renderers when you can preview that almost in real time, and hopefully let's say with all the Nvidia cards, like you later in the future you will have all that as you can do it in real time engines, like
Yeah.
as fast and as realistic as you can do it.
We've seen recently from the GDC there were some amazing videos, especially the ones shown by the Quixel team. Everything was done in real time in Unreal Engine, and it looks like really, really, really amazing. So yeah,
Mhm.
technology is definitely changing for the better. So these are like exciting times,
That's awesome. That's why I think we should be very welcoming to new technology, to new ways. We should definitely ask for better tools. Like some people, like how it works. People get offended when you say, "Oh, this tool sucks," right? No, we should speak up. We should say, because we pay for those tools and we need to get tools that work for us. So if the UI is not working, I think it should change or it should be improved. Because in the end, it directly impacts my workflow.
Yep.
And also just be supportive of new software or new like any other new technologies. And that's why like I have a huge belief in VR, or at least like in that direction. It could be AR as well, or MR, mixed reality, but it's something that could change our workflow in a positive way.
While we're still watching this VDB settings, is there any source that you're allowed to mention to get like good VDBs? Or
No, I'm pretty allowed to mention it. I think you just need to Google it. Let me VDB files. I know there is a free website to do it. Okay, it's pretty much called openvdb.org. I can copy paste that one into.
Okay, so let's move to Bob Ross asks. I guess that's not a real Bob Ross, but maybe.
I wish it was. I got excited.
Let's pretend that it is. How long does the decent looking scene take for you? Well, this is really hard to because I mean it depends like what you're building for the scene. If you're building characters from the scratch, like it can take for a while. But if you're using a kit like this one, then I guess it's importing
exactly like you said, because I had the kit already like ready. It took me like yesterday. I spent maybe like a few hours just setting up and thinking about what I want to do. And today I was just knocking out those renders really quickly. And you see, like rendering, you don't. There's no render aspect in Octane. You don't. You just wait as we talk. You see, it's already went up to 470 samples. I just what I do. I just go here, right click, and just go and copy and go to Photoshop and say that's it, right?
Okay, someone asks, I think this is the last one here.
Yeah.
Someone asked about the iPad and if you're using it, and I just want to add before you answer, I'm using iPad, and I can tell you that I'm totally like a Windows guy and PC, and I did use like Macs in the past and blah blah blah. I love Mac, but I was always like I like the way you can hack Windows and all the things with it, but I'm totally impressed with the iPad for 2D stuff and the software like Procreate and the Art Studio Pro, and then there's the third one. I don't want to forget it. It's
Mhm.
old. It's called Pro. Oh fuck! I forgot. Never mind. Anyways, I'm so impressed by the Procreate type of workflow with where you can like really easily create brushes and if you have a chance to get iPad, if you can afford it, if you're like a 2D guy doing illustrations, definitely try it out. And Jama, do you have any experience with iPad? And
Oh, I have a very good experience with iPad. Just like you said, with the same thought in mind, I bought iPad and I just watch movies on it because I just want to enjoy my life. I'm tired of working all the time. No, same. I completely agree with all the stuff that you say. It's an amazing software. Like both Procreate and some others, they're great. iPad itself is cool. I'm happy that many artists could actually work as they travel. I'm just, I just don't have energy for that left. I listen to books when I travel, so that's what I started doing recently, and that's what I should have done before, but because I was working from home, I never had the chance to travel. Uh, yeah, so basically, like, it's a great tool, but I don't see myself purely because I just want to sometimes stare at the windows, like at people when I travel. But it's a mobile device. You can work, you can do whatever you want as you travel, as you go on vacation. It's an amazing that they fit it all into this little thing, you know? I just watch movies.
we
That's
had
it.
like a few weeks back, we had a live session like this one with Nikolai Lokatsen. He's like a
Yeah.
totally Procreate guy, and you should definitely take a look at it. I'll even try to paste the video link here into the chat window
Yeah,
because
Nikolai is
he's
awesome.
yeah, he's great, and he's like totally into iPad and Procreate, so definitely check this because on the other hand, that's all that he uses, and I was like really impressed, like, okay, so this is interesting, like he gets paid well, I guess, he doesn't need like a working station, he can literally like work like while traveling somewhere, like and he's like super fast in doing 2D
That he
scenes,
is.
and they're like, it depends like what you're after, so yeah, I don't think there's like a right answer to it, but
But it's actually good maybe to talk about it. You know, I always say there's always it's really up to you what you want to do with your art life. I would put it this way,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You can be just 2D artist and you can be doing great. You can be just 3D guy. You can be doing great. You see like there are tons of examples of that. You know, it's just when people specifically ask me and when I look at what I do, I say you have to learn 3D, you have to know 2D, you have to know basically a little bit of everything because I work on concept as a concept artist on movies. You know, I'm not an illustrator, and I don't think just with an iPad I can do everything they ask me to do. Right? It would be like technically impossible. Let's say I'm working in a team and the guy sitting next to me shared with some models with me. I can't go like, hey, dude, like I only use iPad.
Yeah,
So
that will be definitely a technical problem because of the facts about like exporting and importing from iPad
yeah,
and into iPad and other Apple
Yeah.
products. But okay,
Yeah.
I think that's like I don't think we have any more questions. And to be honest, like I don't want to hold you for too long. You know, all the questions that I had I already asked, and I was really interested in the big medium small story and like everything about it because to me like it's really impressive, you know, like I even have like a bit of envy in me, you know, when I see like what one person or like a small team can actually like do, you know, and on that high level of quality, you know, so
Yeah.
definitely a motivation as well. So if that's it, if you don't have anything to add, or if you have anything to add, please do. Uh,
Yeah, I actually think I have. I don't have technical like any technical stuff I want to add. Like, I will probably never reply to the question, and we should because some people will probably think we're doing some voodoo black magic, and that was the question Raja asked me about the process behind it. And some people go, "Oh, could you make a tutorial?" I was like, "I won't because this. I won't do it because there's nothing new I can tell. It's very straightforward. Everything we did was sculpted by hand. We will use marvelous design and 3D code. So there's no magic. It just
mhm.
took a lot of time,
Yeah, I
and a
can
lot of
imagine.
effort, So basically, we moved from like using a little bit of DAS, posing them, then reposing, then making sure that the poses look great and finessing them. Then all like spent tons of time on the drapery, on the textures, and all that stuff. So it was all like just hard work and obviously
Did you
some.
keep the DAS topology like?
No, no, no. We
Okay.
don't have any DAS models. Obviously, you
Mm-hmm,
can't sell DAS models. So,
of course.
and we don't. We there is no human underneath this. It's
Yeah.
all like just heads. And for heads, I know Oleg is gonna hate me, but I scanned his face, his head, and all the characters I made from there. We changed. I changed it dramatically, so it doesn't look like Oleg. Hopefully, but we started off from there. So
Okay. Okay.
we really wanted to do something custom, something that we would tweak and we kind of could push and say, oh, this is what we did, and everything we did was custom and like really handpicked. And I'm happy that we did that. Doing that allowed us to have a full control of what we are doing, and also I think the models look great. Okay. And also one thing I want to, hopefully Roger, that answers your question. I wanted to say something that I kind of briefly started throwing out those things on my Facebook and stuff like that. Like I just remember myself like 10 years ago when I was looking at people who are like were my inspiration. I always felt like, damn, those guys are living great life. They're like doing all this cool stuff. And now I'm not saying I'm like from some point of view, I kind of I came to the level of people I was adoring, like, but then I just realized it didn't make me happy. I still struggle just like I struggled 10 years ago with the stuff I was struggling with, right? With timing, with a lot of pressure, with a lot of like time I'm spending working and stuff like that. So it's like never ending story. And but what I learned about it during those years is that we are actually responsible how we manage that time and how we push, like how much we push ourselves. So even though like it requires a lot of work, I would strongly advise you guys to have some times off, to relax and to basically enjoy your life, because it's always this pressure, the better you do, people expect from you certain standards, people expect you to do some cool project, and you expect internally, right? Like, yeah, just let it go, do it for fun, and when you do it for fun, then you get rewarded so much because it reflects on your work, and that's exactly what happened on this project. We did struggle a lot physically, but we were satisfied, we were happy that we were doing something that we like.
For the end, I just want to promote. And actually, while you were talking about you were saying your last thoughts, I remembered I got like this email. I'm subscribed to like for 2 years now, I think, and there's like a really good free software for anyone that's into like doing stories for the films or for animation or for whatever. It's called Storyboarder, and I'll paste the link here. IFCC is in no way connected to this project. I just find it like really really cool for sketching fast like frames, and they even have like an option to pre-posed to use like pre-posed like some kind of like dummy models, which you can like use for the visualization of your story. So maybe this can be even used together with the big, medium, small pack or whatever. But do check it out. It's called Storyboarder. Jama, thanks so much for joining. We'll see each other in exactly 3 months, because today is like 24th. And the event starts on 24th of June, so like exactly in 90 days. All of you here, I really hope that many of you will join us there and to meet Jama live and 23 other instructors and demo artists. And yeah, that's it. Thanks everyone for joining us. Yeah, that's it. I'll stop streaming now.
Damn, we didn't talk about kebabs though. I promised people. Some of people joined for kebabs.
You want to say something?
Nah. Well, the thing about kebabs, I like kebabs, but I lived in Turkey for 10 years, so like it's a normal thing to get used to the food. I just like kebabs. They're great. And when I was a student, I couldn't afford them. I was so broken. I was so broken.
Really? Because then you were like really broken. If you could not
I was super broke, man. The types of kebab I could afford, they would have like 100 grams of meat. They would like literally put them on weight. Like just 100, like a little bit, like a small chunk of chicken. That one I could afford because it had a huge bread. So you can eat some bread and you feel good, right? I was super broke, man. I was like, I don't know what I was doing with my life, but it was like most miserable period of my life in terms of like financial part of it. I was like 22 maybe or something, 23, 4. But I worked hard, like I just, and also like at some point I just fell in love with drawing, painting, and concept art. And money was never my first priority ever when I was doing those things. Like I was doing all right money to start buying kebabs in the end, but I never felt like this is why I do this. I did it because I really liked it. And I still do. That's why that probably explains why I'm still motivated, because it's fun. You're just drawing, you're painting, you're doing some Templars, walking on the mountain beach
on the beach. Going to swim. Well, your story is definitely. I remember from our previous talk, like you're really a good example that like hard work pays off, and so if you have enough luck to be healthy along that path, which is like really the most important thing, maybe.
Absolutely.
Then I really think that like hard work has to pay off. It's in some point in life, so like never give up. But also work every day, like develop yourself, develop your skill set,
Yeah,
and,
it's occasionally people say like, oh, I don't have time, and stuff like that. There's always time. It's just sometimes you spend it on completely unnecessary things, which is also kind of required. It's very contradictory. Life is so contradictory. No one knows how to live a happy life. Everyone should tell someone how to do it, but in the end, everybody's journey is a unique experience. Like I was broke, I couldn't afford kebabs. Now I can, so I eat a lot of kebabs sometimes. Maybe I will die from eating kebabs. Who knows? So
okay. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll have to wrap it up. But you guys, if you have questions, there's some more questions.
Okay, there are some more questions. I didn't see. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, for example, someone is asking, did I procrastinate? I do it all the time.
Okay.
Procrastinating is my best friend. Like I will do it tomorrow. I will do it the other day. And no, I didn't. I never worked like a robot. Like I'm not. Like if you know my personality a little bit, I'm definitely not a robot. I would love to be, but I'm not. I do a lot of stupid stuff. I watch like fail compilations on YouTube. I play StarCraft. I waste a lot of my energy on this like little unnecessary things. But I think it's important to have it, because the moment you lose the fun part of it, you eventually will degrade. You will not improve or grow as you want to be. And there are certain periods when you do that, and then you pick it up and then you do some like very highly concentrated work. So it's all about balance, I guess. Procrastinating is a part of it. Like, that's why we're humans. We do that all the time.
Well, actually, like on Friday when I was talking to Peter Han, like we were also mentioning like the burnouts and all that, and the fact that like the younger folks, especially students, they since um, like burnouts is something like actually it's weird to say, but it's normal thing when you're working hard, especially
Hmm.
in a studio and so on. So like, don't be afraid of that as well, like because it will go, and then you'll be motivated again, like in few days, so
Hmm.
it's not the end of the world. Also, so
Hmm.
yeah, procrastination, motivation, and all this other stuff, like the like normal part. It's actually part of the process, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I think in my recent Facebook I mentioned this because I was so concerned about this stuff. I was like, damn, I'm watching these fail compilations. I'm watching UFC knockouts. Like, damn, I need to do something with my life, right? I would stress it out so much. Like, I would read books about it, like how to the 69 best ways to organize your workflow, right? Like, there's
69.
always
Okay.
69 for some reason. Yeah, or
Okay.
like 5 ways to get the most productive day schedule or something like that. And I just realized like it doesn't work for me. I need that stuff. And I just let it go. And the moment I let it go, I felt so much better. I just mentally felt much more human. And yeah, I mean, it's yeah, it's a deep subject. There is so many things that like you have to learn and about yourself in the beginning, and once you do that, you can basically become more productive and all this. So that's why it's really hard to tell how to do it because every case is personal. Every person has a very unique story. Very unique set of like different things that surround them. So it's kind of hard to kind of eyeball and say, "Oh, that's what you need to do."
Do you find any time for like practicing breakdancing? I know that you're like really good at breakdancing.
Nah,
When did that come to your life? Like
I,
when were you
yeah,
training with that?
yeah. I was in uni, and I was doing some of that stuff. It was really a fun experience. I did it for 5 or 6 years. Yeah, it was really really cool. I don't do it anymore. I don't think I can. I'm just too, I guess, too old
Well, I
now.
don't know
But
if you
that's
remember, but like 2 years at the IFCC, you probably were already like a bit drunk, but you did some break dancing there, and I was like who's doing
yeah,
like this helicopter on the floor? Like, is it Jama?
yeah.
I'm
I
like,
did.
what?
I did. I wasn't drunk. I don't drink,
Okay,
so
okay.
I just did it for fun. It was cool.
You were
But
just motivated by the crowd.
yeah, someone challenged me. I think someone did something. I was like, damn, I'm gonna show these guys what this guy can do. Yeah, it was fun. It's like, yeah, one of the things I would love to do, but when? When? That's the question. If I
That's
do
what.
breakdancing, who's gonna do Templars, man? So it's all, but yeah, like I think I care more about sport more as you get like older because you basically start falling apart, like you aches
Definitely.
here and there. So doing sports is a big thing that I would do differently when I was younger. I would do more, but obviously now I understand. I appreciated it more, but now there's not enough time to do that. So again, it's just all about balance. I wish I knew, but I guess that's how we learn, right? We do those mistakes and then sometimes it's too late, but we learn them as we go.
Okay, Jama. Uh,
Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Thank you
And
very much, guys. And like I said, if you have any extra important questions, life and death questions, you can drop them to on Facebook, I guess. That's the best way to reach out to me.
okay, okay. Right now, I don't think we have. Okay, we do have. I think the next session should. I have to check. The next session should be with Jessica and Bastien about their involvement in. I think also they will be also joining us at the IFCC.
Hmm.
Their involvement in the Spider-Man movie and also the Witness short, which is a part of Love, Death and Robots. And this might even happen next week. And also, I know that I have another interview waiting with someone, and I can't remember who it is, which is like really not professional for me. But I will check and inform you also. You'll know about it through newsletter or Facebook or so on. So okay, that's it. Thanks everyone. Thanks
Awesome.
Jaima, and
Thank you very much, guys, for your
yeah,
attention,
and
and thank you, Marco, for making it happen. So yeah, see you very soon at
yeah,
IFCC. By the way, you're really bad at promoting this event. You should hire
yeah,
me.
yeah. Okay,
IFCC
I'm
is one of the
hiring.
fun events. No, not hire. Like I don't need money or anything like that. I can just make good.
Even better
Yeah,
for us. You know, like I
yeah.
love free stuff. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah, IFCC is a great event, guys. It's gonna be fun, and this time is by seaside, so it's like a great place to unite, to meet your friends, so to make a good connections with, and obviously get a lot of inspiration from
yeah.
artists.
You will love it because it's really beautiful there, and so many. The city of Split, it's like sometimes I compare it to like a small version of Marseille. It's like it's kind of a wild city. But
I've
it's really
never been there, but I heard a lot of good
yeah,
things
it's
about it.
it's really special place. They're those guys. They're like really passionate about their like local football club, and it's a really weird place. But so many super talented artists and like sportsmen and so on come from this like small area. But there are like beautiful islands around which you can travel to like in
Yep.
less than an hour. So yeah, definitely. It's this IFCC will be different, So let's put it that way. Okay, this is the end. Talk to everyone soon. See you soon, Jama. Thanks so much,
Yep.
and yeah, bye, bye,
See you
bye.
soon, guys. Bye.